Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and this is it. This is the end of 2018. We are into New Year's Eve, and no, your eyes do not deceive you. All three of us are back. Finally, we've got so George is obviously back home. We did the 3 movie reviews last night, and Tate is still in Austria, but he's very kindly to jump on to give our. Well, this is going to be 2 videos. We're going to do our worst and best, as you can see from the title. We're kicking off with our top 5 worst of 2018. I think we're all in agreement here. 2018 has been pretty much a letdown of a year. Not to say there haven't been any good movies. There have been some very good movies. But on the whole, there's, I think, more disappointing movies, especially in terms of the big blockbusters. But there's also been some absolute stinkers of movies as well. And that's what we're going to run down today. I'm going to pass over to George now. We can sort of talk about the list and how we're going to structure it and everything like that.
Oh,
hang on.
Oh, we're losing George.
We're losing George.
Is that better?
Yeah,
yes, go back.
Sorry, I thought I was back at where I've lived then. So as usual, we've got the 5 films on our list, and then when you get to number 2, they may or may not list honourable mentions if they feel they need to. So that'll be on the best and on the worst list. And we'll start with 5, finish at 1. We'll have a little discussion. Now, if you hear us say stop, stop, it normally means that somebody's got. We don't tell each other our numbers, so it's as much a surprise for the others. Spoiler for this year, I've not got Star Wars 1 in the top 5 because every other year that was predicted. But it's going to be very interesting. And then I think if we go Chris, Tate, George.
Okay.
Because that's just how my Skype chat is at the bottom. Then not Skype, sorry, Hangouts. Anyway, I'm dawdling. Let's just roll with it.
Okay, so if I'm going first, my number 5 pick is Aquaman. The DC fanboys can get in the comments now and start disliking the video ahead of time. That's fair enough. In terms of direction, like this one definitely did have a clearer direction behind it. There was more style to it and everything like that. But this is a 2.5-hour movie and it's an absolute slog. It's a story that we've seen a million times. The effects look absolutely dreadful. And this still isn't that DC movie that's completely won me over to this cinematic franchise. It also has a Pitbull cover of Toto's Africa in there, which is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life.
Hold on, because I haven't seen this film yet.
Neither
yes.
Yeah. I'm going to have to say, a Pitbull version of Africa by Toto. That sounds like what they did to the Ghostbusters theme in the new Ghostbusters film.
Yeah, literally, go onto YouTube and check it out after this. Don't listen to it. Just look at the likes to dislike ratio. It's kind of amazing in its own regard. It's it's a nothing movie, and it's on for so long. The pacing is dreadful. The acting as well, especially from Jason Momoa and Amber Heard especially. They have no chemistry, and the entire second act of the movie is just them together. It was an absolute miserable watch, which kind of had like a really kind of campy and over-the-top ending, like the whole underwater stuff. So that's why it's at my number 5. It had some good stuff in there. There was a clearer direction, but it's still not that knock out the park for DC. So Aquaman's my number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is going to be a very interesting one. I've actually picked a film which could easily be an honourable mention for my best films of the year list. Because this was one of those films where I have so hard mixed feelings about it. And I only watched it last week, but this is Sorry to Bother You, which is directional debut. I don't have the person whose directional debut it was up here, but I was really intrigued by this film. The premise of the film is that it is a person who rings on the phones and tries to get people to buy insurance and stuff like that. And the entire premise of the film is every single time he goes to call someone, he gets propped right in front of them, like in his head, and he's having to speak to them basically face to face with a phone, which is really cool. I like that idea. To spoil this film and say that was the best part of it, the parts where he was doing the phone stuff, and to say that he turns into a horse in the end, and there's something to do with drug testing and cocaine that turns people into horses, makes me kind of have very mixed feelings about the film, which is why it's the first ever worst film of the year, one that I'd ever say you should go watch it, because it has some amazing parts, and it also has some really fucked up weird parts, which was too weird for me. And I feel like it gives off that little bit of a high-rise vibe, where it thinks it's
which also involves a horse. So
full of itself. Yeah. So absolutely full of itself and philosophy. But most of the film is good, just all of the weird shit drags it down into the worst 5 of the year.
So I was just looking, it's directed by a guy called Boots Riley.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pirate.
I know, right? I haven't even heard of this movie, so
it'd be interesting.
I've seen pictures of the poster. I think is it a streaming one that's kind of come out recently?
It was released in cinemas.
It's got a great cast, though. I mean, I'm just having a look here. Tessa Thompson, Terry Crews, Patton Oswalt, David Cross, Danny Glover.
Yep.
It's a great cast.
It's a very good cast. It's a well-acted film. It's just that it starts to get a bit high-risey and a bit full of itself, and then people start turning into horses, which is really weird. And honestly, it's one of those films where you go, it was going so well, why did it have to go like this?
Yeah. Okay, so on to George's number 5.
My number 5 pick is none other than Jurassic Park: The Fallen Kingdom. No, sorry, Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom.
Please.
I know everyone else is going to have this covered, so I'm just going to say I didn't hate it upon watching, and then as time's gone by, and I've kind of rewatched Jurassic Park recently for the 25th anniversary, I've just kind of come out miserable thinking about everything else that came after, and looking back at all my films I've watched this year together. That's just, it's not the worst, but it's borderlining into that path where some of the other films are in front of it. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, there was, looking back, there was some, I mean, I don't even think we truly hated it. I think you liked it more than me when we first did our review.
It was watchable.
I want to point out that I absolutely detested it.
I know it's going to be on Tate's list, so I'm saving a conversation on assuming for later. But the thing is, I like Jurassic World as well, which kind of makes.
I still don't get that. I
love Jurassic World, but no,
I don't get that.
That's why I didn't like this as well, probably because it just didn't really do anything.
Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom's on my honorable mentions. It's not on my main list, but I think I enjoyed it more than Jurassic World because of how ridiculous it was, and I just thought Jurassic Park has become this ridiculous franchise now. Let's just go with it. But there was some dumb shit like the dinosaur smiling into the camera, the dinosaur headbutting them out of the jail cell. Like, just thinking about that is not good. Not good. So my number 4 then. My number 4 is Tomb Raider. It came out earlier in the year, and I remember when it was first announced, you had Assassin's Creed was announced and Tomb Raider, and you were like, okay, video game movies are never really that good. These could be the two. This could bring the video game movie back. And Assassin's Creed was terrible. I thought, right, okay, now it falls to Tomb Raider. Alicia Vikander was cast. I love Alicia Vikander. Oscar winner, I believe, isn't she? Or nominated at least. So I was really looking forward to it. The pictures came out. She looked like the character. And it was utterly abysmal. It felt like you were watching a discount version of National Treasure. Completely over-the-top action and just no characterization. It didn't feel like the video games. The newer video games are what the movies should have been, and they completely missed the part. And it's just one of those films that comes out in the early part of the year. You go and see it. You forget about it. Even in terms of the action, it didn't wow or anything like that. You could go into it expecting like a kind of Mummy or Mummy Returns vibe. You could go with that really, even if you would go with like a cheesy feel to the movie, the Mummy films still hold up. This one actually doesn't.
So what you're saying is you need a Brendan Fraser or you need a Nicolas Cage to really kind of carry the craziness?
Yes, we need Nicolas Cage to play Lara Croft in the next Tomb Raider movie. But
I would watch it.
It's just the villain's terrible. The set pieces aren't memorable. None of the characters are likable. It's just a completely forgettable movie. And for Tomb Raider, which is such an enduring and prolific video game franchise, it's a real shame. And I'm still waiting on that good video game movie, if it'll ever happen.
So for me, my number 4 was the film Tag. This film actually made me laugh quite a lot, and I'll give it that. But most of the time I was laughing because of how shit it was. And I've read the article on what it was based on. And funnily enough, this season in the ski school, we're playing a game of tag across the ski piste, which is going to be quite entertaining. But other than that, the acting is lazy. The directing is even lazier. The writing is awful. It's an abysmal piece of cinema. But it's one of those films which is so bad that it actually does make you laugh sometimes. So that's why it's at number 4 and not any lower.
My number 4 is my most disappointing film of the year. It's Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. Is that what it's called? Fallen Jungle? Sony Fallen Kingdoms and Jungles. When this was announced so many years ago, Andy Serkis was going to be his directorial debut. In comes not Chris Murdoch, in comes Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett, this incredible cast. Very excited. Disney Jungle Book comes out. I love Disney Jungle Book. I thought, wow, this is up the stakes for the new film. Andy Serkis promised the darker adaptation of the book and whatnot. And then it went very quiet for about a year where there was no news, no nothing. And then it was supposed to come out last year. It got postponed for a year. I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're taking their time. Second on my most anticipated film of 2017. Yeah, it was 2017 this year. No, 2018 this year, sorry. Yeah. And then there was no trailers. Then it all went quiet. Then it's like, oh, Netflix have acquired the rights. And that's when you know, game over. You don't have a mega blockbuster Jungle Book film, and Netflix acquire the rights to it about 5 years after it's announced. And then the first trailer came out, and I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt that these animals look weird. Maybe the CGI is not finished. Then the second trailer came out, and I was like, "Oh dear lord,
that CGI is still not finished."
The CGI is still not finished. I think the worst thing about this was that obviously where I lived on the internet, when it got released on Netflix, I didn't know it got released, and then I went to watch it, and I couldn't actually stream it, so I actually had to wait an extra 3 weeks to watch this film. And it was definitely not worth waiting an extra 3 weeks. It was. I feel that Andy Serkis has had a rough deal from Warner Brothers. I feel they've not backed him financially. It showed that in the quality of the CGI and the motion captures and stuff. But it just wasn't very interesting. I was completely bored throughout. I actually wanted to go back and watch the Disney Jungle Book instead. It didn't feel like the adaptation he wanted to do. And moving on, I hope he does get some more directing roles. He did a drama last year. But Jungle Book, 5 years of waiting for that, not deliver. Yeah. It's more of just a disappointment than anything. And to have that cast.
Yeah. It was going to be on my list as well. It's one of my honourable mentions. But yeah, me and you both were looking forward to that movie. It was just a real shame how it turned out.
It was just so boring.
Yeah.
The first hour felt like 3.
You had to watch it in 2 sittings. You couldn't even make it through it. And I was almost there with you. Like, I had to almost do it in 2. I had to pause it a bunch of times when I was watching it.
I have to say, seeing as I haven't really seen this film, like, it doesn't exactly make me want to watch it.
And it's a short film as well. It's like 1 hour and 40, but it feels so much longer. It feels like you're in for like a 3-hour epic.
Avoiding that then.
Definitely.
Chris, number 3.
Oh, is it my number 3? Okay, so we're moving to some of the comic book ones now, and there was certainly a walk-away winner with one of the worst comic book adaptations I've seen, maybe in my entire life, and that goes to Venom. I don't even know where to fucking.
Someone's going to talk about that later.
I don't. Okay, I'll keep it brief then. I don't even know.
Can I chime in here? This was one of my films that kind of sat in the middle between the best 5 and the worst 5 because I didn't completely hate it. And here's the thing: I'm not ridiculously attached to the character of Venom because my only real interaction with the character of Venom in the past has been Spider-Man 3,
which was a better Venom than the Venom in this movie.
No, I just said it. Than the Venom in this movie. But at the same time, I wasn't offended by it, but I can understand why a lot of people were.
This is a pure money grab from Sony. They're trying to get this weird pseudo-cinematic universe going with their villains by not integrating Spider-Man into it, and the meat of the story with the Venom character comes with him being offset with Spider-Man. That aside, Tom Hardy's announced, and obviously Tom Hardy usually picks his roles very, very well. In interviews, he was asked what was your favourite part of this movie, and he said the 40 minutes that are on the cutting room floor that no one will ever see. Doesn't really bode well for the movie. The CGI looks unfinished. When you've got Venom clashing with whatever the name of the villain was at the end of it, Riot was it or something, it's like throwing 2 lava lamps together. It's this complete CGI hodgepodge. And tonally, the movie didn't know what it wanted to be. There are moments where it toes the line between being a weird romantic comedy. Then there were other scenes where it's trying to be like a body horror film. It was just an absolute miserable watch. The action was terrible. The acting was awful. And I just wanted it to be over. And unfortunately, they're teeing up for a sequel. And judging by how much money this movie's made, they'll probably get that sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, Venom at my number 3.
So, does everyone remember the years when we would have 3 or 4, maybe even 5, like teen drama of teens who are in dire situation films? I'm talking like Hunger Games. I'm talking like the Maze Runner series. I'm talking like Divergent. And now we've got a new upcoming one, which has ended up as my number 3 worst film of the year, which is The Darkest Minds.
Was this like the X-Men film, was it? Like
it's like a weird X-Men spin-off.
Superpower teen. I remember,
like,
yeah.
Superpowered teens. Like the advert was really weird because it is like they basically, I swear they were ripping off This Is What It Feels Like to Chew 5 Gum. So this is what it's feel like to chew 5 gum. It's like The Darkest Minds. But honestly, the trailer was the best thing about the film. The film is the most boring, weird teen mix-up drama thing ever. Child actors, it's usually hit and miss. How on earth did they miss with every single character in this film? It's impossible to say how bad. Did they just pick nobodies and go, yeah, that should work? And it just doesn't.
It's always a warning sign for a movie when like the advertising has you know, the new X-Men or the new from the minds of like Stranger Things and X-Men. They did the same with Mortal Engines with like from the creators of Lord of the Rings and everything.
Yeah, you know it's just going to be
never a good sign for a movie.
Steaming pile of shit.
Yeah.
And this film did something which I've never really seen a film do before, where I have, when I listen to music, which I do quite often when I'm relaxing and stuff like that, a lot of the time that music, I'll never think, yeah, that would sound really good in a film. A lot of the music that I'm listening to, it just doesn't mix. It wouldn't go well in a film. I swear, half of the songs in this film were straight off my playlist of those songs. I'm talking like Loud Places by Romy, which was really weirdly shooed into a romance scene. Like, I'm talking really, really weird, like, temper trap, Sweet Disposition thrown into an action scene. It's like a slow, it's like, who came up with this? It feels like they had 5 or 6 people working on the film and none of them communicated and didn't actually tell the actors what they were doing in any of the scenes. The CGI is beyond awful, and I still don't understand what happened really at the end. Like there was a very anticlimactic fight, literally 2 seconds and it's over, and the entire conflict from the film is resolved. But now none of them are safe again. It just made no sense, and I don't think it made much money, so I don't think there will be a sequel. But man, it pissed me off because this year could have been a really good year for those teen kind of films, because I absolutely adored the final one from the Maze Runner franchise, Death Cure. Brilliant film. This film, awful. God awful. Don't watch it.
My number 3 is Deadpool 2. Which
controversial?
Which cut? One cut was too much for me. I'm not going to go and watch any others. Wow. I would rather watch. I can't really say I'd rather watch Venom. I would rather just not watch anything. I'd rather just sit in silence for 2 hours than have to put up with more crap from Deadpool.
That is insane.
And I think what makes it worse, I
enjoyed it.
That was on one of my best lists.
On your best, you're mental.
It's not in my top 5, but I like.
It's on my honorable mentions.
Deadpool's a very weird one. I don't know if it was on my 2016 list. If it was on,
it was on your worst for one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What makes it weird is I used to read the comics. I love the comics of Deadpool, but I've never liked the films. My favorite Deadpool scene is in X-Men Origins Wolverine, when he takes on that all them people in that high tower at the elevator. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fans that make me despise it more. I don't know if it's Ryan Reynolds, where he's trying to be so method acting, it's just boring, predictable, and had enough of it. I watched this film. There's absolutely nothing. One of the worst. I mean, I'm not saying what's the Taika Waititi film where the wild things are? Is it the kid from that's the kid in this the 13-year-old villain? And they're like, why do they want to save this person?
Hunt for the Water People.
Yeah, that's the one. And I hated it. I hated the characters. We're seeing this a month after Infinity War. Josh Brolin is completely wasted. I don't like the fact that he's both Thanos and in this, because it completely distracts me from watching this film with him as a character. It was just awful. There was probably one really funny scene out of everything, and it is not worth sitting through the 88 minutes for. I should just wait for a 2-minute highlight reel on YouTube the following month. I had a horrible experience watching that. I don't want us to do another Deadpool film, and I think it made less than Deadpool 1. I definitely hope it did. But
I don't know if they're taking into consideration the re-release with Once Upon a Deadpool, if that's adding to the...
I don't think anyone went to watch the re-release, to be fair. I think it made like 2 million.
So I didn't get to it in the end. I wanted to, because I do edit, I wanted to go as like an experiment to see what it would be like, but I never got around to it.
Doesn't it defeat the purpose of Deadpool to re-release it as a PG-13 rated cut?
I think the reason why I think they're doing a PG-13 version of Deadpool is because they're shaping him up to enter into the MCU.
Yeah, they're testing.
And they wanted to test.
Yeah,
they wanted to test the water.
I don't think they will make him PG-13 in MCU. I think that was 20th Century Fox trying to get a bit of money because they shifted some movie release dates around.
So Deadpool 2 made around 40 mil less than the first one.
It's not that bad.
So it's not a huge drop off.
I had no time for this. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of the first one, but the first one worked, and I can see why a lot of people like the first one. The second one had nothing going for it. It kind of made it embarrassing that it was falling into the sequel traits of sequels being rubbish, and I'm sure he makes jokes about rubbish sequels. And it was outdated from the first minute of the whole dubstep jokes. I remember stuff like that. When we spoke about
that was almost like a year outdated. Those jokes
exactly. And I thought it didn't work. Even if I loved the first one, I wouldn't have liked the second one.
I think that's to critique the film. I think that's more of the fact that they don't really know what their target market is. They kind of went with we'll just make it as absurd as possible on the first one. And the second one, we went, oh, we've actually got to like know what we're targeting here, and they targeted like the kind of early
teens, early to late teens.
I'd say they didn't even target that in the second film. In the second film, they're definitely targeting like the mid-30s kind of bracket, because mid-30s people probably wouldn't know what dubstep is, and most of the references were a little bit further on than what teens would actually know.
What Deadpool reminds me of is the bandwagon jumpers, that people that would say they love Deadpool didn't know who Deadpool was 3 years ago. And that's what it's those fans that not even like normal people. You're on Facebook and this one person sharing 10 Deadpool memes, and you're there like, you don't know anything about this. Just because you think 2 lines of dialogue is funny does not mean that you know what you're going about.
Therefore, are you saying that Deadpool can't reach a new audience? It has to be only people that know it.
No. I'm saying it can't reach new ones. What I'm saying is that the first one knew what it was. I don't think the second one knew. The second one tries to do too much. It backfired.
Yeah, and
I've got a lot more credit for the first one, but the second one, no chance at all. I wanted to get out of that screening.
The people on my Facebook feed who post up those kind of like every single like day, like a Deadpool meme or something like that, are the same people who post up the Jared Leto like he was the king and she was his queen kind of shit.
Oh yeah, exactly. Then Deadpool. Like I said, the first one. The first one just didn't work for me. Like I appreciate the first one, what it didn't want to, but the second one completely took me the wrong way, and that was it down there. It's not the worst comic film on my list though. That's no one.
So, number 2.
My number 2, we're going with horror on this one. Now, 2018 on the whole was pretty good for horror. There's there's Hereditary, there's A Quiet Place, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
This was not one of them, and I was really looking forward to this one, being a fan of the cinematic universe before it. This is The Nun. Is my number 2 pick. I love the nun character in James Wan's The Conjuring 2. Very, very creepy character, and it's kind of a new horror mascot that's kind of cemented themselves in the modern horror. You know, if you look at it, everyone knows that it's a nun. Everyone knows what franchise it's from. This was like the most ineptly constructed horror film I've seen in a long time, and you had a great premise, like creepy nuns, creepy churches, great atmosphere, great location, everything like that, and you just do away with all that. You have it where a character sees something, but then it turns out that it's not real. And then the next scene, you just rinse and repeat that the entire movie. There is no plot. There is no character that you get connected to. And that's a big thing with horror. Like, you can have like all your crazy, outlandish, spooky stuff, but if you don't have a character in there that you're rooting for, you've instantly lost me. James Wan.
I remember.
I
was going to say, I remember you absolutely venting to me about this film before we even started doing the review for it. And I haven't watched any of the Conjuring franchise so far. I haven't seen a single Conjuring film. However, the way you talked about this film, you actually sounded offended by it.
Yeah. And it's just because it did have so much potential. And like the first 2 Conjuring films, I didn't like the first Annabelle film. Annabelle Creation was a much better film than the first one, in my opinion. But James Wan's Conjuring films, if someone asks me, give me a good modern horror film, they're always the 2 that I go to, because inherently they're about a family. You know, you've got like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga who are trying to help a family that are going through a crisis, and then the horror kind of happens around that, but that's your main emotional center. And James Wan's great with that stuff. In this, you have nothing. You just have creepy set piece 1, 2, 3, 4, rinse, repeat, boom, the ending. There's nothing that connects it together. It was an absolutely miserable film, and all the scares in it are jump scares that you can easily, see coming at all. The trailer had a better jump scare than anything in the movie. So The Nun, it was an absolute miserable time, and it's now kind of made me in like this weird shift, this weird limbo with the Conjuring franchise now. But The Nun's my number 2 pick. Hated it. Couldn't stand it.
So my number 2 pick for worst of the year is a Netflix film, funnily enough. It's not the same Netflix film as what George picked earlier. This is The Cloverfield Paradox.
I still haven't seen this one.
I'll go ahead and say Cloverfield 1, decent film. 10 Cloverfield Lane, truly underrated.
Apart from the last 5 to 10 minutes, fantastic.
Apart from the last 5-10 minutes, if you cut that out, which I would happily do, I'd happily stop it early. If you cut that out and end it with just seeing what's overhead and then just cut to black, then that would be an almost perfect film, which I rarely say about other films itself. But Cloverfield Paradox was a shit show from the start. First of all, there was kind of like there was rumblings about like, oh, is this going to be like another Cloverfield film? Oh, it's going to be on Netflix. Oh, interesting. And then there was talks about Overlord possibly being a connected to that universe and stuff like that. But this film basically tries to explain what happens, how like the first events of Cloverfield like start, and it's just so dumb. I don't think J.J. Abrams had anything to do with this film at all. But his name's plastered on it.
Well, it was announced at the Super Bowl, wasn't it? And then it was
Didn't it come out the next day?
Yeah, it was like the next day or the next 2 days.
And there was a lot of hype in those like few hours. It was like, oh my god, it's getting released! Holy shit! And then it was just like, oh, what is this? And it does make you wonder sometimes when a film gets released on Netflix why it's gone to Netflix straight away. There is a film on my best of the year list where it made me think immediately, why was this not in cinemas? Because this is fantastic. In fact, I got one, possibly two, on my best of the year list that do that. But this is not a good advert for Netflix, and this is not a good advert for cinema in general. And maybe it has killed off the Cloverfield franchise because it doesn't make me really want to watch another one.
My number 2 is Venom. Now, I don't have a massive attachment to Venom. Like, I didn't mind him in Spider-Man 3. I quite like Spider-Man 3. I'll always defend that. Sam Raimi got the bad end of a bad deal. When Tom Hardy got announced to star in an R-rated Venom film, Tom Hardy picked his projects wisely. He walked on a Suicide Squad after reading a script. It was very encouraging, even though I wasn't completely keen on a whole Venom film without Spider-Man. It would be like having a Star Wars film without any Jedi. Something like that. And it was just horrible. And then when Tom Hardy the first trailer drops, like, oh god, this CEO doesn't look very good, does it? And then Tom Hardy come out and goes, the best 40 minutes, the 40 minutes that aren't in the film. That's when you know that if you're a star actor and to be fair to Tom Hardy, when I say star, he's not, I wouldn't say he's in the Rock territory of he gets a full box office every film, but Tom Hardy is a draw. Tom Hardy is the reason why Venom has made 890 mil. Credit where credit's due for Sony. They released their film in a month where nothing else came out, which I don't understand why film companies don't do that more often, because that is how they make money. This film made 890 mil. This film would never have made 890 mil in May.
I think if it was up against Infinity War, it would have made nothing.
And this is what annoyed me. This is what annoys me when I look at like Solo, Bumblebee. Why have they all put these clogged up films when anything could have swamped Venom out? And it was terrible. And the worst thing about Venom is that it's found a fan base. And it is going to get a second film. China loved it. I mean, it's not hard to appease them. Aquaman's made about 300 mil over there. They can just get binned. There's going to be more of them, and it's going to be painful. The problem is, it's not even the fact. It was just terrible. It didn't know what it was. Tom Hardy had no chemistry with any of the actors. The villain was awful. The film was rubbish. The CGI was rubbish. The character was rubbish. It was just horrific. The worst thing about it is the fact that everyone went and watched it.
Well, I mean, we had to, right? Like
we all had to.
We're exempt from that, so.
I remember I paid a ticket to watch that film.
I wouldn't have gone to see it.
George, I didn't pay a ticket to go see it, so there you go.
Well, I didn't have my Cineworld card then, so in future it would fall into that. But I just watching that, I really wanted to give it a chance, and I've Spider-Man as a kid grew up my favorite comic character. I knew Venom from the cartoons. I said he was not my favorite character. I like Spider-Man 3. I just thought if you have a film called Venom and it's somehow worse than Topher Grace, and Topher Grace actually gets a bad deal, says that film. It's not done well. Spider-Man 3 had a director that didn't want to do Venom. And he's hated Venom so much he made it crap, and that was still better than the Venom film. That sums up this film. Not
to mention ending on that god awful Eminem song. Remember? Yeah, let's try not remember that. Right,
honorable mentions.
I'm going to rattle through a couple of them now. As I said, some of these movies that I'm going to list out aren't inherently bad. Some were just like, really, really just disappointed me. I've got Johnny English Strikes Again on there. I had the Mowgli film that George mentioned earlier. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, I really didn't care for. I've got Incredibles 2, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, and I've got Solo on there as well. Now, some of those I've just said, aren't inherently bad films, but they just really didn't do anything for me. But I group them into that. Are we all doing honorable mentions? Or are we doing?
I don't have any for worst.
I have two honorable mentions that haven't been mentioned. Probably the most disappointing film of the year, Isle of Dogs.
I still need to see that.
It's probably Wes Anderson's worst film, to be honest. Didn't like it.
Something.
So maybe this will be subversive. That will be the first one Wes Anderson movie that I actually like.
And Peter Rabbit, which if you want to watch James Corden being animated as a rabbit for 2 hours, then have fun.
Right, so I guess we jump straight to our number ones. This is it. So, I mean, I've been pretty much open with what my number one is, in case anyone doesn't know. But my number one worst film of 2018 is The Predator. This fucking movie. I wanted to just like end my life watching this film. I really, really did. And it's, you know, we had it with Terminator Genesis, where a franchise hits a point where you see the movie and you go, this is the worst. Like, this is cancer, what I am watching now. Like, this franchise needs to end. It needs to die. This is the Predator movie that has done that. Now, don't get me wrong, like, the Predator films have had some bad entries in the past. It's not like they haven't. The first Predator movie is definitely the walk-away winner for me. I know some people that do like Predator 2, or some people even like Predators, which I didn't even care for. Going into this movie and seeing that Shane Black was attached to it, who featured in the first movie. I think he had an unofficial writing credit in that first movie as well. And who has made some great movies in the past. I thought, you know, it's in safe hands. It's going back to basics. Boy, oh boy, this was like it tried to be a comedy, and then it was also trying to be like the action, like horror, violent Predator film that we know. They try and do the whole like group of, you know, quippy characters again, but except they give that trait to everyone this time, as opposed to just being to some unique characters like the first one. It was just a mess. The trailers came out. It felt like you were watching like a toned down kid version of Predator. It felt like a kind of Spielbergian quality to it. It was just an absolute mess. The acting didn't wow. Even the action, like Predator is an action film inherently, and it just did nothing. And one of the most ridiculous, convoluted endings that I've ever seen that tease up for a sequel, which I hope to Christ we never get, where a character gets this Predator suit that looks like the Iron Man suit, and he's going to have a one-man army against the next Predator. No one wants to see that. We don't need to see that. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I wish I had like a Men in Black thing and I could flash it right now and remove the knowledge of this movie from my mind. It was terrible. It was one of the most miserable experiences I've ever been to the cinema. To see one of my favorite 80s films like that and how far it's fallen. No one went to see this piece of shit. It was an absolute flop.
Okay. I yearn for the days. I plead for the days where we can get talking dinosaurs back. I would rather watch just a film of the dinosaurs talking to the characters than having to deal with blank-faced buff guy and red-haired snobby person all the way through an entire dire, terrible film with a male character whose only job is to scream. It was absolute trash, Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom. I don't think that I could put it into perspective on how bad it was. And I know that we have to take into kind of account the previous Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films. And yes, I do have some nostalgia attached to Jurassic Park, the original trilogy. But even so, you've taken something which people love and you turn it into that. That is insulting. You have Toby Jones, and you actually make his character just bad. He is a brilliant actor, and you don't even do anything with him. You have got a film where the final solution of the film is, oh, let's go release all the dinosaurs. What? What is this film? Oh.
They spent so much time thinking if they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
I don't think they thought if they could. They just did.
Yeah. Although I will say, the final 2 minutes of the movie, I am interested to see another one.
Look, but that was the trailer. The final 2 minutes was the trailer.
I know, it was great.
The final 2 minutes was the trailer. Funnily enough, was it worth sitting through one of the worst films, possibly of the last decade?
Oh,
just one of the worst of the last decade, just to get a 2-minute trailer for the next film at the end, which is going to hype me up. No, it's definitely not worth it.
You forgot that the little girl was like a clone in it or something, wasn't she? And they were doing like an underground auction, and the old guy didn't know they had this whole room kitted out underneath his house.
His son did what Commodus did to Dumbledore. He just choked him out when he realized he was out.
It's bad.
Man,
it's bad.
I seriously am done with these characters. I'm done with this film franchise.
Derry, you've got one more. At least.
There are very few films where I've decided I just won't go back to after I've seen one film, And this is just going straight to the top of the list. I'll probably watch the next film, but dear God, like you're gonna have to strap me into like a straitjacket and wheel me into the cinema.
I think the next one needs to be called like Jurassic World Extinction or something. Just kill all the fucking dinosaurs off once.
Don't kill. Oh, don't kill the dinosaurs. Kill the human characters because they're the worst.
Have a meteor hit Earth and just wipe out the planet.
Yeah. Because honestly, that I'm done. I'm absolutely done. George, what's your number one?
My number one is a film that not many people saw. Thank God. Has anyone heard of Mute?
I didn't see Mute. I've heard of Mute.
You've heard of it. Everyone's heard of it, no doubt.
Upside down. Oh shit!
I don't know why my camera's gone upside down. Oh, my camera's not working.
Because they brought a Mute. That's why. It's killed his camera. No.
Tate's been infected with the virus. Oh, we've lost Tate. Yeah.
Is he gone?
I'm still here.
Basically, I'll talk about Mute. So, Duncan Jones, director of Moon, outstanding film. Source Code, not seen it, meant to be great. Then did Warcraft, backfired. His next film, it's a kind of sequel. It's going to be set in the same world as Moon, the film that you will love, the film that's great. The Sam Rockwell should have been Oscar for. It's going to be set in the same world. It's going to be them going on Earth. We're going to see what the Earth is like. Oh, okay, that's kind of intriguing. It's Netflix have let me do whatever I want to do. That's also kind of intriguing. Netflix has given you free reign, fair play. And then the trailer came out, and it's about an Amish guy that's a mute, that's girlfriend gets kidnapped, so he kind of tries to get her back. And then Paul Rudd plays a butcher criminal, and his best friend Justin Theroux is a butcher, but his best friend Justin Theroux is a pedo. Paul Rudd discovers his best friend's a pedophile. He tells him off. 3 lines later, they go shopping at the mall as best friends. It was uncomfortably awful, and it was very uncomfortable to watch it. Not because the film was trying to be, but because of how it was made. It was awful. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. It was one of the Skarsgård brothers. I think it was the one that was Tarzan. And his career's took another trajectory fall from this. Duncan Jones, I mean, I handle the fact that he did Moon, which I love. Sam Rockwell has a cameo in this. This one came out around the time when his Oscar. That does not help him at all. What makes it worse is it then ties it into Moon because he's got a cameo in his storyline. He's like, when I say cameo, it's like a TV report thing. It was so bad. I told everyone not to watch it. It's terrible. It's uncomfortable to watch. It feels like 4 hours. You feel like the film's ended, then there's another like 25 minutes on top of it. And you're kind of like, how are they getting another 25 minutes out of this? It's just terrible, uncomfortable, and awful. I would never make anybody watch this in my life. You know when you have the films that are so bad, you can't get enjoyment out of the terrible things?
Yeah.
It was like that. There was nothing. At least Jurassic Park, Fallen Kingdom, there's some things in there. You can at least say good CGI at times. This was just horrendous from start to end. And to see Ant-Man in this, Paul Rudd, what are you doing? Get in the bin. You're better than this. You know you are. Horrible.
So I'm glad we all dodged a bullet then, apart from George with Mute, because I've heard of Mute. As I said, I haven't seen that one, and you haven't won me over on that one at all, so I'll definitely give that one a miss. That has done it for our top 5 worst films. We are going to take like probably a 5-10 minute break right now. We're going to hit back with our top 5 best movies of 2018. There's been a lot of good ones. It's been very difficult to condense it down into a list. But get commented on this video. Let us know some of your worst movies of the year. Maybe you agree with our lists. You have some other picks that we haven't mentioned at all. Please do get commenting down below. And, if you're watching this one now, come back in 10 minutes and you'll see our best list. So until next time, we'll see you then.